This is a message to Lebanese expats. It's been a month since the start of the full-scale war, and we're hearing a lot of debates with people asking, is it the right time to talk politics while Israel is attacking our country? Should we side with Hezbollah? We're fighting them. Let's start with the obvious. Israel is bombing our country, leveling residential buildings in Beirut, wiping out entire villages like Yarun and Hadid, and displacing more than 1 million people by force, including from the heart of Sur. Many of our friends and relatives have lost their houses, their livelihoods, sometimes their loved ones. And for those who think that targeting Hezbollah officials justify such bombardments, will find it harder to explain the systematic attacks on ambulances and paramedics, like in Deir, or the deliberate shelling of clearly recognizable journalists, like Aissam Abdallah. Yet, if we want to go beyond the immediate outrage against Israel, but also think about how to end this nightmare and rebuild a stable country and a state that protects us, we have to talk politics. We have to speak about Iran's role and Hezbollah. And I'm saying that because I also grew up an expat. And like many of us, I sided with what I consider the legitimate resistance against occupation in the 1990s and against the Israeli war in my country in July 2006. I'm not going to dwell too long on Hezbollah's identity as a theocratic, sectarian, oppressive movement funded and governed by Iran. Neither about its assassinations campaign affecting all communities. Yet it's important to remember how, after the Syrians left in 2005, Hezbollah led a permanent internal coup against our institutions, the peak being the short-lived civil war on May 7, 2008, Sab'a Ayyar. Iran did everything to transform Lebanon into one of its battlefields. But let's focus on the question that matters to us all now. How can we protect ourselves against foreign aggressions? How can we stop the war, break the cycle of violence, and achieve stability? The first thing is to start by not provoking wars. Hezbollah pride themselves in opening the so-called support front on October 8 last year, based on an Iranian order to maintain the unity of their axis of resistance. Did this front help the Palestinians in any way? The answer is clearly no. Now, some people will say the Israelis wanted to attack us anyways. We never know how this fanatic Netanyahu government can behave. And in that case, the question becomes, how do we deter them from attacking? One thing is clear. Hezbollah, whose main argument was deterrence, proved to have none. Neither the rockets nor the drones prevented Israel from attacking and destroying our country. In fact, when you're faced with a nuclear power that receives billions a year in US military funding, there's no way you can establish a purely military power balance. Real deterrence is a complete strategy in the hands of a state. It starts with diplomacy, which Hezbollah has subordinated to a dependence on Iran. With alliances, economic relations, soft power, intelligence, cyber, on top of pure military deterrence. And if you can't deter, well, you have to defend. And here, I'm sorry, but launching rockets without asking anyone's opinion and then complaining, where is the state, is not what I call a defense strategy. Neither is letting Iran use Lebanese men as cannon fodder to defend their nuclear program while their whole axis is collapsing. How come do we rejoice so much about the sound of sirens in Haifa when our villages are reduced to rubble? Where are the sirens and shelters in Lebanon? What matters most? That we expel 100,000 Israelis from their homes, or that we bring back 1.2 million Lebanese to their homes? All of that to see our soil occupied once again. This is not victory. This is suicide. From now on, the question should be, 1, how do we stop the war? And 2, how to make sure this war is the last one. We could have stopped it easily a couple of months ago. But the more we wait, the costlier it will become. I know things are not in our favor. I know the system is broken and Israel is massacring in total impunity. But things are not bound to remain that way. International pressure is growing, and the Lebanese government is finally waking up against Iranian interference, regaining some credibility. Hezbollah cannot win this war, so the only way out is diplomatic. If the price to get a ceasefire and save Lebanon is having Iran make concessions, well, let them make these concessions, especially if the alternative is for them to fight Israel until the last Lebanese. Yet the ceasefire won't be enough. To break this never-ending cycle of wars and destruction, we cannot start over again without a sovereign state. We must elect a president, apply the international resolutions, come back to our constitution. Nothing will save us more than our national unity. In the last 50 years, Every Lebanese community has experienced a moment of terrible pain when its leader was assassinated. Now is the moment to gather, all of us, under one flag, one state, and one army. Now is the moment to understand each other's fears. Now is the moment to build a state that really protects, so we can return to our homes and rebuild. Stopping the killing is not a defeat. In fact, if it allows us to save our country, well, it's a victory.